team's on a roll heading into another home game, which will be your 100th game coaching here at USF. Your thoughts on the game and that feat in itself?
I didn't even know that. It's obviously honor, as I said, from day one to be the head coach here, and really, really proud of the progress that we've made as a program in every facet of the program. Obviously, at this time right now, the focus is on the court, but because we brought in really, really high-level guys, high-character kids, the stuff beneath the surface has been as much of a sense of pride for all of us in the first 100 games, I guess. But, you know, you go into this game, as I've said for the last couple of weeks, we've been playing pretty good basketball. And we've found some ways to win some close games in the last two games. You know, in the last, you know, we call it winning time, those last 8 minutes of the game. Either with some defensive stops, some key rebounds, and some timely shooting and scoring. And that's what it takes in that time. You got to get both. You know, we've been in situations where we've done one, but not the other. And usually that doesn't work out too well during that time. So proud of our guys, proud of the effort that they're playing with, their stick-to-itiveness in some key situations. And we got some guys playing their best basketball of not only the season, but probably their career right now, and it's young careers, but it's good to see.
Cincinnati really hasn't missed a beat during their coaching change from Cronin to Brandon. What has allowed them to do that?
Player of the year.
Yeah.
You know, it's a pretty good starting point, and probably won't win the player of the year, but maybe the most valuable player in the league in Trey Scott for his particular team. A guy that I've known since he was 16 years old, and just really has blossomed into an unbelievable player, a great leader. You see it on the court. He's a grad student, you know. I think that Mick and the old coaching staff said, hey, I think it's in your best interest to redshirt, to improve and get better. A lot of guys take that as an insult. He took it as a compliment, and he's run with it. And he's at where he's at today because of that redshirt year. You know, and they got really good players, you know. Williams, you know, at the 2-3 is as athletic and as tough as anybody in the league. And, you know, moving Cumberland to the point has been a little bit of an adjustment, but he's one of the best playmakers in the league because he can see over the defense, and he's got a great feel for the game. So, you know, you add the big fella inside, and they got a heck of a team, and have played in 1 million close games, and have lost most of those early, and have won most of those as of late.
Mentioned a couple players having career time right now. I mean, Brown scoring, rebounds, double digits, 3 straight games. Your thoughts on those two guys?
But, you know, we talked a couple weeks ago about, you know, the growth and development of Justin Brown in more areas than just making threes. And I said it yesterday after the game, you know, and he's putting up Yetna-type numbers, you know what I mean? And he's really embraced it. You know, it was a huge challenge thrown out to him, and he's done a tremendous job. You know, it takes time. You know, you just can't. He's played at one spot for 2 years. We've played him almost exclusively at another one for the last 23 games or so, and he's really, you know, in the last 10 has been, you know, tremendous for us. And then, you know, with Mike, we talked about needing him to be more aggressive and us having greater confidence in getting him the ball. And it's a two-way street, and he's really responded extremely well. And I think because of that, other aspects of his game, you know, he's rebounding the ball better, he's defending better. He's done a great job defensively in the last couple games, and totally different coverages. So for a young player to be able to make that adjustment, to go from guarding Gardner on the perimeter, keeping him in front and challenging the 15 to 17-foot jump shot, to guarding true low-post players, and in this game against Cincinnati, you know, one of the most physical, biggest post players in the league. His growth and being able to do that is really good to see.
Michael almost had a double-double on his own, but he and Antoon had 22 points and 11 rebounds. Can you talk about how big Antoon's play was?
Yeah, we talked about it. Those guys almost exclusively now have to kind of man that 5 spot for us. Again, Antoon's another one that's had to make the adjustment because he played half his minutes last year at the 4 spot. It's difficult to do because if either one gets in foul trouble, now you're in a difficult spot. But he was very aggressive when he caught the ball around the basket on Sunday afternoon, and he needs to do the same thing for it. As an older guy, he's got a good feel around the basket, being able to turn over either shoulder. And that combination, when those guys have played like that, we haven't lost a game, and I think it's really critical that those guys understand they're a big part of what we're doing offensively and are aggressive when they get the ball.
We've seen more parity than ever in college basketball, and it could get crazier this month.
Mm-hmm.
What's your theory? Why is that?
I think a couple things. I think the upper level teams, the upper echelon teams that people think of are playing younger guys now, and because of that, there's inconsistency. They may be more talented, but there's just inconsistency. It's just inevitable. I think teams are playing newer guys because of the transfer rate. I think more and more teams are playing transfers, and because of that, again, that leads to inconsistency because players aren't the majority of your players aren't in their 3rd and 4th year. They may be juniors and seniors, but they're in their 1st year in your program or your 2nd year in the program. I think you see that. I think the third one is with the rise of television coverage. I think other schools are able to sell the fact you're on TV, you're this, you're that, and so maybe some under the radar guys are going to those schools and immediately making an impact, or as those teams have guys that have been there 3 or 4 years, so now they're playing older guys. So I think a lot of factors go into it, and I think because of that, the conference tournaments are going to be absolutely bonkers, and when it comes to the NCAA tournament, it's going to be crazy.
As far as the one-day prep, are any of your assistants allowed to look forward to Cincinnati tape? How does it describe the whole process?
Yeah, I mean, when we do this, we have the scouting split up, so whoever has Cincinnati had that primarily done by the time we hit the plane yesterday. That was done. We even had the game on the computer as we were flying home. So yeah, I mean, you do that. If it's not your scout, like for Temple, the guy who had the scouting report for Cincinnati still does a lot of work on Temple, but he's primarily focused on Cincinnati. So I don't watch anything. I started yesterday on the plane home. After watching our game on the plane, then you go right into Cincinnati. And then what you try to do on a quick one-day prep like that is you try to pull up 3 or 4 things from yesterday's game that carry over into Tuesday night's game, so the guys can see themselves, because we like to do a lot of self-scouting. Guys can see things that we did well or didn't do well against Temple that will carry over into Tuesday night's game.
That's a big one. Would be a plus against Cincinnati that you did well yesterday.
You got to take care of the basketball, and where Cincinnati will pressure and press more, it's still a big factor for us is ball security and making solid plays. And when you get into the lane, you got to make good decisions with the ball.
Watching Cincinnati, one of the things I noticed, they don't play a lot of zone this year like they did under Mick Cronin.
Yep.
But the zone is different. It's a 1-3-1, and it's really high, like 4 guys above the free throw line. That gives you some opportunities on the back end.
You would think. They're long, though, because they play that a lot with Diarra when he comes in, and he's long and active at the top of the zone. It's not a traditional 1-3-1, because in a traditional 1-3-1, you have your guard on the baseline. They have a big up top and a big on the baseline. So, and it's something different, and in a one-day prep, it's a challenge to get prepared for and so forth. But, you know, we have a package, you know, you do stuff early in the preseason. All right, these are the actions we run against when we see a 1-3-1. So when you see them during the year, you don't have to spend an extended amount of time in practice. Guys already have kind of a feel for it. You know, so, you know, hopefully we'll be able to conjure up our practices in the past and be able to zip through it and have a good feel for what we want to do to attack the zone, to attack their post coverage, their ball screen coverage. Everybody's different. So hopefully at this time of the year, you got a pretty good feel so you can just say, okay, this is what we need to do against this team.